The gas station where I work is in the middle of nowhere. Fields surround it, with an old diner nearby. The neon lights buzz softly, and it casts strange shadows on the cracked pavement. It's quiet, which I thought would be nice during my night shifts. I was wrong. It was my third shift. I leaned against the counter, listening to the hum of the refrigerator. When I looked outside, I saw a figure standing by the pump, just staring at me. It sent a chill down my spine. I thought he might need help, so I walked outside. I called out, "Hey, need some help?" But then he vanished. One moment he was there, and the next, he was gone. I brushed it off. Maybe I was tired. Over the next few nights, things only got stranger. Around midnight, the cash register would beep. It rang up items I hadn't sold. I glanced down and saw a can of soda priced and everything, but nothing was on the counter. My heart raced. I knew I hadn't sold anything like that. I felt this pull to figure it out. Then came the shadows. I noticed something moving out of the corner of my eye while near the entrance. I'd turn, but there was nothing, just darkness. I thought about ghosts. Was I being haunted? I tried to shake it off, but the uneasy feeling stuck with me. One night, I was sure I was getting used to the oddness when I heard whispering. It was so faint, I thought I was imagining it. But the whispers got louder, echoing through the aisles. I grabbed my flashlight, thinking maybe a customer was in the store. I walked through the aisles, but found nothing, just empty shelves. I felt fear creeping into every corner of my mind. I found myself back at the front, staring into the darkness outside. That first night would not leave me alone. I wanted answers. What had happened to the man? What were those whispers? I felt trapped, and the night stretched on longer. Then, one night, all the fear boiled over. As I stood behind the counter, I heard a voice. It was right behind me. "Why are you here?" I turned around fast, but there was no one there. Just me and the old walls. My chest tightened, and I felt cold sweat drip down my back. I didn't know what to think. I felt like someone was watching me. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination. But every shift became harder. The whispers returned. The shadows flashed around me. I began to dread every hour until morning light finally broke. And now, even weeks later, I can't shake the feeling. I still work those night shifts. I open the station and wait for customers, but I can't help thinking. What has found me in that place? What will happen next time? I still hear that voice in my dreams. Why are you here? I haven't found the answer yet, and the shift began like any other. The familiar buzz of the neon lights outside greeted me, and I settled in, bracing for the long hours ahead. The night was eerily quiet, but the unease lingered. I kept checking the time, waiting for midnight, knowing what usually happened then. Around the witching hour, the cash register beeped again, but I didn't jump this time. I was expecting it. I walked over, cautiously eyeing the screen. There it was, the same can of soda ringing up for $1.25. Confusion washed over me. I backed away, shaking my head. I hadn't touched it, and no one was in the store. I needed to stay focused, to not let this get to me. Then it came again, that whisper. This time it felt different. It was almost like it was trying to form words. Why? I strained to listen. The hairs on my neck stood up, but I forced myself to move, flashlight in hand. I walked toward the snack aisle, heart pounding. The soft rustle of chips filled the emptiness as I turned. "Hello?" I called out, half hoping for a reply. Nothing. Just as I was about to return to the counter, the door swung open, the bell chiming. Relief surged through me. A customer. I needed that distraction. But when I turned, I froze. A figure stood silhouetted against the bright lights outside. It was the same man I'd seen weeks ago, but his features were obscured by shadows. The familiar chill crept back into my spine. "Sir, can I help you?" I asked, forcing the words out. No response. He just stared, his eyes almost glowing in the dim light. My pulse raced. I stepped toward him. "Are you okay?" That's when the whispers came back, louder now, swirling around me like a storm. I felt disoriented. They were everywhere, echoing off the walls. Suddenly, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the darkness. Adrenaline coursed through me. I dashed outside, the cool night air biting at my skin. I looked around. Nothing. No sign of him anywhere. Just fields stretching endlessly, the diner's light flickering in the distance. I ran back inside, my breath shaky. As I locked the door, my reflection caught my eye in the glass. I looked pale, shaken. That's when I noticed something on the floor. A single can of soda rolled into the light. I picked it up. The label was torn, but I recognized it from the register. The same price, $1.25. What was going on? I returned to the counter, placing the can down with shaky hands. "Why are you here?" echoed again in my mind. As I stared at it, a shadow passed over the can. I glanced up and my heart dropped. The figure was back, closer this time, just behind the glass door, eyes fixed on me. Panic surged through me. I bolted toward the door, but as I reached for the handle, the lights flickered and everything went dark. My heart raced as I fumbled for the flashlight. I felt something cold brush past me, a presence I couldn't see but could definitely feel. "Someone's here," I whispered to myself, fear flooding over me. I needed to get out, but the darkness held me in place. What was happening? I wanted to scream, but my voice betrayed me. That's when I heard the voice again, low and haunting, just above a whisper. "Why are you still here?" I stumbled back as the voice curled around me like a snake. "Why are you still here?" It echoed in the dark, taunting me. My flashlight flickered to life, cutting through the thick black. I swung it around, breathing hard. Nothing. I was alone, or at least I thought I was. The panic bubbled inside me. I needed a plan. The gas station's security system had its limits, but it felt safer than facing whatever was behind me in the shadows. I hurried to the back room and grabbed my phone. No signal. Of course. I cursed under my breath and returned to the main area. The fridge buzzed, a reminder that I was very much still in the land of the living. I approached the register, my hands trembling. The can of soda sat eerily in front of me, somehow less benign than before. It was just a drink, but it felt like a message. Then the lights flickered back on. My heart leapt. Everything seemed normal again, but that didn't last. I tried to shake off the dread, forcing myself to focus. I needed to believe this was just stress. That's when I heard it. A shuffle coming from the bathroom. I froze. Had a customer come in while I was distracted? I took a cautious step towards the bathroom door, my heart pounding louder in my ears than the echo of the previous voice. The shuffle came again, soft and shrouded in mystery. "Hello?" I called, my voice wavering. No reply. I waited, counting my breaths. I reached for the door, but before I could knock, it swung open. My breath caught in my throat as I stepped back. A young girl stood there, disheveled and wide-eyed. "Are you the one?" she asked, her voice shaky. I swallowed hard, unsure what to make of her. "What do you mean?" I managed to say, trying to keep my voice steady. "Are you the one who sees him?" she whispered, glancing around as if she expected someone to leap out of the shadows. "Who?" I asked, bewildered. The girl just shook her head and took a step back, almost vanishing into the darkness. "You need to leave. He's coming." "Wait, who are you talking about?" I shouted. But she was gone, a shadow swept away by the night. I stood there, heart racing, contemplating my next move. My mind whirred with confusion. The whispers had escalated, but now there was a girl involved. I couldn't trust my senses, but something deep inside urged me to follow her. I grabbed the flashlight and stepped cautiously toward the bathroom. It was empty, no sign of the girl. The clang of a door startled me, and I turned quickly. It was the back door swinging shut. I took a deep breath and approached it, feeling drawn by an invisible thread. As I reached for the handle, dread washed over me. The hairs on my neck stood up. "He's coming," echoed in my mind, but my curiosity gripped me tighter. Then I opened the door. The night air hit me like a cold wave, and the sound of rustling leaves filled my ears. I stepped outside and scanned the area for any signs of the girl or the man. The shadows seemed to shift, whispering secrets I couldn't hear. That's when I noticed it, a figure lurking near the edge of the lights, their back turned to me. As I squinted, the air crackled with tension. I felt the anxiety rise again. Should I call out? Or was this another mirage? I took a step forward, ready to confront whatever nightmare awaited me. But just as I did, the figure turned and my breath caught. It was him, the man from before. This time he wasn't walking away. He stood still, staring back at me. I felt the whisper return, now in a chorus of voices, and I couldn't catch my breath. "Why are you still here?" he asked. And those words sent a chill through my bones. I realized I was about to find out why. I stared at him, paralyzed. His eyes bore into mine, dark and empty, as if he could see into my very soul. I mustered the strength to take a step back, but the cold night air held me in place. "What do you want?" I croaked, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't reply. Instead, he took a deliberate step toward me. My instincts screamed to flee, but I was frozen like a deer in headlights. The whispering voices grew louder, twisting around me like vines, suffocating and chaotic. "Just leave. Get out," I told myself, but my feet wouldn't obey. Then, the shadows around him shifted, coiling and twisting unpredictably. It felt as if they were alive. I blinked, struggling to comprehend what I was seeing. Was he summoning them? The thought made my stomach lurch. I finally broke the spell and turned to run back inside the gas station. I stumbled, nearly falling as I sprinted through the door. The sudden safety of the illuminated space wrapped around me like a shield. The metal door slammed shut behind me, but I could still feel his presence outside like a looming storm. I leaned against the counter, gasping for a breath. My mind raced back to the girl's warning. "He's coming!" What did she know that I didn't? I knew I had to find her, to demand answers. Gripping my flashlight, I glanced at the backroom door. The bathroom was still eerily silent. Fueled by a mix of fear and determination, I pushed open the backroom door again, scanning every corner. "Hello?" My voice trembled. "If you're here, please." My words trailed off as the tension in the air became palpable. Before I could call out again, the bathroom door suddenly swung open, and I jumped back, almost dropping my flashlight. It was just a roll of paper towels that had fallen, nothing drastic, yet it startled me. As I turned to leave, I caught a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye. That's when I saw it, a piece of paper crumpled on the bathroom floor. I bent down, heart racing as I picked up the note. It was stained and damp, the ink smudged but still legible. A single phrase was scrawled across it. "He's in the shadows." Suddenly the lights flickered again, low and ominous. My heart raced, and every instinct urged me to flee, but something kept me rooted to the spot. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to uncover. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting the man to materialize behind me. Then, just as the flickering stopped, a chill swept through the room. The temperature dropped significantly, and I could see my breath as mist in front of me. Panic surged. I rushed back towards the front of the gas station, but then paused. The security monitor was flickering on the wall. I approached, eyes widening as I saw something or someone standing outside just beyond the light. "No," I whispered, dread pooling in my stomach. There was no mistaking it. The figure was not just the man. The girl stood beside him, her hands clasped, looking directly at me. And just like that, the realization hit me hard. I wasn't just being watched. I was being hunted. The pounding in my chest drowned out the thoughts racing through my mind. I ripped my gaze away from the screen, still feeling the weight of their stares seeping through the glass. "What do you want?" I whispered to myself, my voice shaking. I needed to do something, anything, to shake off this creeping dread. Just as I turned to grab my phone, the power flickered again. The lights hummed ominously before plunging into pitch black. My stomach dropped as I cursed under my breath. The emergency lights kicked in, casting everything in a dim red glow. "Great," I murmured sarcastically. "Just what I needed." The hollowness of the gas station enveloped me. I could barely make out the shapes of the shelves and the aisles. I had to regain control. I took a deep breath and focused on increasing the volume of the faint hum from the fridge behind the counter, the only sound keeping me grounded. With shaky hands I reached for my flashlight and clicked it on. The beam flickered weakly, as if it too had a fear of the shadows. It cut through the darkness like a timid whisper, but it would have to do. I needed to see what was going on outside. I stepped cautiously toward the entrance, feeling the chill of the air whispering around me. That's when a knock echoed against the glass door. I jumped, my heart racing as I swung the flashlight toward the sound. There they were again, the figures of the girl and the man, veiled in darkness. My instincts screamed for me to turn and run, but I was frozen. The girl's eyes, full of something indefinable, seemed to plead with me. "Help me," they screamed without uttering a word. But help? From whom? I couldn't afford to open the door. What if the man was looking to lure me into some trap? Yet my curiosity fought against the logic of self-preservation. I forced my feet to move. "Hey!" I shouted, my voice determined but uncertain. "What do you want?" The man's lips curled into a smirk that sent chills down my spine. And just like that, a flicker of movement caught my attention again. I glanced back toward the back room. It felt like it was breathing behind me, alive and watchful. Then everything went quiet. No whispers, no noises, just stillness. The profound silence was suffocating. Suddenly I remembered the note. "He's in the shadows." The urge to turn and check the back room surged inside me, but I fought it down. The girl's gaze was still fixed on me. "You have to trust me," she seemed to say. Then, the lights flickered back on, and I startled, whirling around. The back room was empty. I was alone in the gas station again, aside from the two figures outside. I needed a plan. I took a deep breath and turned back to face the door. "I'm not going to help you," I shouted, trying to project more bravado than I felt. But the girl's expression hardened, and I felt the air grow uneasy again. Then came the unexpected sound, a low growl, echoing just behind me. I froze, dread slithering up my spine. Someone, or something, was in here with me. That's when I knew I wasn't just facing them, I was no longer alone. The gas station had become my prison, and I had to find a way out before the shadows consumed me. The growl was closer now, a low, vibrating menace that filled the gas station. I turned slowly, trying to keep my breathing steady. The light from my flashlight flickered again, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. I aimed the beam into the back room, my heart racing as I struggled to see through the oppressive darkness. "Hello?" My voice cracked, uncertainty flooding my words. Nothing replied, only silence hung in the air. I backed away from the counter, scanning the shelves for something, anything, that could serve as a weapon or shield. But my eyes remained glued to the darkened back room. Then I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. The girl. She was still at the door, her face pale and strained as she pressed against the glass. I thought about calling for her, but something told me she wouldn't be able to help. Not now. The growl escalated to a low snarl, and I stumbled backward, my back hitting the side of the counter. There was no time left for hesitation. I needed to exit this place. I pointed my flashlight toward the back room one last time, and that's when I saw it. A figure, hulking and shadowy, lurking just beyond the edge of the doorway. The hairs on my neck stood on end as my instincts kicked in. I forced myself to break away from the standoff and made a dash for the front door. But the moment I turned, I was met with a chilling sight. The man stood outside, his smile twisted, blocking my escape. "Let her in," he said, his voice low and gravelly, like stones grinding against each other. "No," I shouted, panic flooding my veins. "Get away from her." The girl raised a hand, as if to beckon me closer, but I shook my head. I couldn't trust anyone. I needed to get out of here now. I glanced toward the emergency exit at the back and began to edge sideways, keeping my eyes trained on the man. "Don't you see?" he asked, his tone dripping with condescension. "She's in danger. He knows you're here." My breath caught. The chill that settled in my stomach gripped me tighter. He was referring to the thing looming in the shadows behind me. That growl sounded again, louder, more insistent. I felt its presence creeping closer, a palpable threat that sent dread crawling up my spine. I couldn't think straight. My foot slipped, catching on a stray can on the floor. I fell to a knee and glanced back toward the looming figure, which was now just inside the doorway, amorphous and dark. My pulse quickened as I climbed back to my feet, heart racing. Then I remembered the note. He's in the shadows. In a blur, I turned and sprinted for the emergency exit, my instincts shouting at me that it was my only hope. The girl's silent plea echoed in my mind as I flung the door open. Fear propelled me outside, away from the gas station and its suffocating darkness. But as I crossed the threshold, I heard it. An angry growl closer than ever, and behind me, the slamming of the door echoed ominously in the silence. I stumbled out into the cool night air, my heart pounding wildly. I spun around, half expecting to see the thing from the back room charging at me. But the gas station loomed silent. The only sound was my own ragged breathing mingling with the distant hum of the highway. I turned to run, but something made me hesitate. The girl. I couldn't just leave her. What if she was hurt? What if that man was right? I peered through the glass door, trying to see if she was still inside. But all I saw were shadows. "Are you okay?" I called, my voice echoing in the stillness. No answer. Just that unsettling silence again. Damn it! I cursed under my breath. I stepped back, ready to run, but the growl returned, echoing through the night. It was low and threatening, but now mixed with an almost playful undertone. I looked around, trying to locate the source. My flashlight danced across the ground, catching glimpses of scattered debris and empty cigarette packs. But nothing more. Instinctively, I took a step back toward the door. I needed to go back inside and get her out, no matter the risk. I took a breath, steeling myself, and pushed the door open again. Immediately, a wave of stale air hit me, thick and suffocating, as if the gas station held its breath. I took a step in and aimed my flashlight around. The counter appeared unchanged, but the back room was now eerily quiet. That heaviness in the air felt more palpable than before, a smothering presence weighing down on me. I called for the girl again. "Can you hear me?" My voice trembled as I edged closer to the counter. The growing sense of unease gnawed at my stomach. Then, I caught movement from the corner of my eye. The hulking figure was back, but it wasn't in the doorway this time. It was deeper in the shadows, almost obscured by the dim light. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I was frozen. That's when I noticed something on the floor. A flash of red. I leaned down to get a better look. It was a small, blood-stained piece of fabric. My heart dropped. The girl's scarf. I scrambled back, the fabric slipping from my grasp. "What did you do?" I whispered, more to myself than to anyone else. A soft laugh echoed through the gas station. My skin prickled. I turned rapidly, the beam of my flashlight hitting the man's face through the door. His smile remained, but his eyes held a glimmer of something darker, something predatory. "Didn't I tell you?" he taunted. "You shouldn't have come back." The growl returned, more menacing now, a warning of what was to come. I glanced toward the back room, every instinct telling me to flee. But where to? I was trapped between the man and whatever lay in the shadows. A sudden crash shattered the silence, pulling my focus back inside. Something, or someone, had toppled over a shelf. The growl intensified, echoing through the aisles like a beast ready to pounce. With my heart racing, I glanced at the man who stood motionless, a twisted grin plastered on his face. Fear clawed at me, but so did defiance. I had to find a way out, for her sake, for my own. As I took a trembling step back, I felt the darkness closing in. Then everything went dark. I gasped as I came back to my senses, disoriented. My flashlight flickered back to life, illuminating the cramped space around me. The darkness receded, revealing the gas station's interior, but the air felt different, charged. A shiver raced down my spine. I was still inside, just a few feet from the counter. Along with the faint glimmer of my flashlight, I caught sight of the shadow in the back room again, larger and somehow more imposing. My throat tightened. I couldn't stay here. "Hello?" I called out, my voice wavering. I took a cautious step toward the door, my eyes eager to escape the oppressive atmosphere clinging to my skin. But then, I heard it. A soft whimper came from the back room. The sound pierced through my fear, drawing me back in. "Is that you?" I murmured, bracing myself. No response came, just silence, heavy and thick. I edged forward again, my heart racing. The growl wasn't there now, but it was replaced by a different sound, a soft whimpering that sent my heart into a tailspin. "Please, come out," I pleaded, desperation creeping into my voice. The shadows shifted, and I could have sworn I saw the girl, just a flash of her dark hair. I was about to call out again when the man appeared in my line of sight. His grin grew wider, stretching unnaturally across his face. It was the kind of smile that made my skin crawl. "You're too curious for your own good," he said, his voice oily and smooth. I felt like I was trapped in quicksand, unable to move, paralyzed by dread. "You should really just leave." His words dripped with menace, and the growl returned, echoing in the confined space around us. I dropped my flashlight, the beam scattering light across the floor before it rolled into a shadow. Gone. "Why are you doing this?" I shouted, my defiance bubbling to the surface. "Where is she? What did you do?" His laughter echoed, cold and sharp. "I didn't do anything," he replied, his eyes narrowing. "But she's waiting for you." Without thinking, I lunged toward the back room, my legs fueled by the fear of what awaited me. The growl intensified, but I pushed through the doorway, the darkness swallowing me whole. I was greeted by a sight that made my heart race anew. A small storage room, littered with remnants of boxes and supplies, but no sign of the girl. My breath caught as I turned, scanning the walls. And that's when I saw it. A door at the far end, slightly ajar. Before I could question my next move, the growl erupted from behind me, louder and more furious. I spun around, my body tense, but I was too late. The man had stepped closer, his silhouette cutting off my escape. "That door isn't for you," he said, his tone chilling. Fear coursed through me, and I was suddenly aware that I didn't just need to find the girl, I had to survive whatever nightmare was happening here. Suddenly the shadows thickened around me, and I realized I was trapped. My breath quickened as the walls seemed to close in. I had a choice: confront this man and find out the truth, or make a break for it through that door. "What will it be?" he taunted, a dangerous glint in his eyes. There was no turning back now. I didn't have time to think. I dashed toward the door at the far end of the storage room, adrenaline fueling my every move. The growl echoed behind me, a vicious reminder of the danger I was in. I would have to take my chances. I had to find out what lay beyond that door. I reached it and yanked the handle. The door swung open, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The air was cold, almost biting. A fear gripped me, but I had a feeling those steps might lead me to the girl. I hesitated only for a moment, then plunged into the unknown, pulling the door shut behind me. The staircase creaked under my weight as I descended, each step plunging me deeper into the hollow. I could hear the faint sound of breathing, the whimpering again, but this time it felt closer. My heart raced. With each flicker of my flashlight against the damp walls, I tried to piece together what I was hearing. Was the girl down here? Was she hurt? The final step led me to another door, weathered and barely hanging on its hinges. I pushed it open, the hinges screaming in protest. Inside was a small, dimly lit room. My flashlight beam bounced around, illuminating crates stacked to the ceiling and what looked like an old workbench littered with tools. In the corner I finally saw her, huddled and frightened. "Hey!" I shouted, relief overshadowing my fear for a moment. "Are you okay?" But she flinched at my voice. As I approached, I could see her tears glimmering in the weak light. "Please don't hurt me," she whimpered, shrinking away from me. The same sense of dread washed over me as before, but I pushed it down. I needed to reassure her. "It's okay," I said softly, trying to embody calmness. "I'm here to help you. We need to get out of here." She looked up, her eyes wide, scanning my face for sincerity. I took a step closer, but then the growl returned, deafening this time. It felt like it surrounded us, shaking the room. My stomach dropped. "Stay close!" I shouted to her, ready to turn back the way I came. But before I could move, I felt the air shift. The oppressive weight of the man's presence loomed large behind me. I whipped around, my flashlight catching a glimpse of him, closer now, an unsettling grin plastered on his face. His shadow darted across the wall, twisting and stretching toward me. "Did you think you could just take her?" he sneered, voice smooth and mocking. "Not so fast." Panic surged through me and I grabbed the girl's hand. "Run!" I yelled, dragging her behind me toward the doorway. I could hear his footsteps thundering, echoing behind us like a storm ready to break. We lunged back up the staircase, my only focus on the light above. But as we reached for the door, it slammed shut with a force that echoed through the narrow hall. "No!" I screamed, pounding against the wood. The girl sobbed next to me. Then right above us, the growl morphed into a deep, echoing laughter that chilled my bones. I turned to her, eyes wide with terror. "We need another way out." Just as I grasped the reality of our situation, her hand slipped from mine. I spun around, but it was already too late. She was gone, swallowed by the darkness, and suddenly I realized the man was gone too. The only sound left was the faint whisper of static hum that engulfed the room, leaving me with nothing but silence and dread. Where had they gone? I took a trembling step back, suddenly aware that I was utterly alone in the dark, the gravity of the situation sinking in. What had just happened? Then I remembered the door, the one I had barely escaped from moments before. Was it still open? I turned, determination surging through me as I made for the dark staircase, hoping for a glimmer of hope before the shadows could close in again. I stumbled back up the stairs, my heart pounding in my chest. I needed to get out, to escape the gas station that felt like it was closing in around me. The lower I went, the darker it became, and I could still hear the haunting echoes of the man's laughter mingling with the growl. They were a symphony of terror. As I reached the top, I yanked the door open, praying it wasn't locked again. It swung wide, and to my relief, the gas station stood before me, dim but familiar. The neon lights flickered, casting shadows that danced along the walls. I darted toward the front door, but then I froze. What if the man was waiting for me just outside? The weight of the girl's disappearance pressed on me like a stone, but I couldn't think of that now. I hesitated, listening. The whispering voices had returned, swirling through the aisles like a restless wind, taunting me. "Why are you still here?" The words wrapped tightly around my mind. Was it the spirit of the girl? Was she warning me or urging me to flee? I glanced back, my breath hitching as I recalled the girl's terrified face. "Please, don't hurt me." I gripped the flashlight tighter, the beam flickering desperately. Steeling myself, I stepped outside, ready for anything. The night air hit me, cold and biting, but I didn't look back. I sprinted toward my car, the gravel crunching beneath my feet like broken glass. My heart raced as I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see him. But there was nothing. Just shadows stretching beneath the pale glow of the street lamps. I jumped into the driver's seat and slouched low, gripping the steering wheel with what felt like frantic desperation. With shaking hands, I turned the key in the ignition. The engine roared to life. Relief washed over me for a split second until I remembered the girl again, the hum of her voice lost in the chaos. "Damn it," I rasped, staring at the gas station through the windshield. Questions raced through my mind. Had she been real, or was she just another figment of this nightmare? Did the man want to trap me like he trapped her? I pressed my foot down on the accelerator, and the tires screeched as I tore away, leaving the gas station behind. As I drove, I glanced back at the road fading into darkness. A shiver ran through me. All I could think about was that single question. Why are you still here? Days turned into weeks, but the memory of that night haunted me. I didn't go back to the gas station. I couldn't bear the thought. Life continued on, and I managed to find a semblance of normalcy. But every time I drove past fields or saw a flicker of light on the horizon, I felt the pull back to that place. I often replayed the chilling encounters in my mind. I wondered if the girl was still trapped there, an echo of lost innocence. Sometimes, when the world grew quiet, I could almost hear those whispers again. They crawled under my skin, lingering like a ghost I couldn't shake. And even now I drive by that stretch of highway, forever glancing at the gas station now seemingly abandoned. Was it all a mirage? The man, the girl, or even the whispers? I guess I'll never truly know. But a small part of me hopes she found peace. As for me, I still think about it sometimes, especially on long dark nights when the shadows seem to creep a little too close.